Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and I want to kick this off with a quick warning. If you see any of these, so people saying things like, why is everyone silent on this? And then there's like another comment, wow, this is actually evolving. If you just sort of hover over them as you would on a Twitter profile and have a look, they typically have no followers and they're not following anyone. The accounts are created relatively recently. These are bot comments, and if you were to click on one of these links, that does indeed look like a genuine link at a glance, but if you were to click on one of these, then you'll get hacked and become part of this scam botnet, and then your profile will post this sort of stuff. Just be careful of that, just be aware of that. So the news is that Pelosi has gone to Taiwan, and Russia has called this purely provocative, and I think that's right. Here's a hot take that I agreed with. China will do absolutely nothing. Pelosi is going to fly in and out of Taiwan with zero problems. China just made themselves look weak by making crazy threats and then being owned by an 82-year-old stock trader. So do I agree with this? Yeah, pretty much. And I don't expect anything to really come of this. But of course, I am open to being wrong on that, hoping I'm not wrong. The world needs the equivalent of a pandemic lockdown every 2 years to meet the Paris carbon emissions goals. So it begs the question, doesn't it? Makes you wonder about the motivations for certain groups of people. Are climate lockdowns going to be a thing? I remember seeing Alex Jones calling for a climate lockdown probably around like 2019, maybe early 2020. And I remember thinking, yeah, really? But it looks like they may well be priming for this or attempting to prime for this. So lockdown is only a state of mind though, remember that. You will eat the bugs and be happy. Klaus Schwab, founder and chief of the WEF. So, I don't know if you've seen this. I think this is pretty much common knowledge by now. But I'm seeing this more and more often, that we should replace our protein sources and replace our meat with bugs. So, if you don't know about this, go do some research. I'm not going to play this whole clip. Look at the state of that. I don't know, if you think I'm off here, if you want to eat the bugs, if you want to sprinkle your prawns with, what on earth is that? The world we live in is absolutely insane. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you're open to this, but I'm definitely not. Millennials have got student loans, wages, house and price inflation, 0.1% savings account, healthcare costs. But remember, Bitcoin is increasing on average 117%. I think this number is actually 107, but maybe it depends where you're measuring from. A year on average. Either way, what else can roughly double its value every year on average? So if you're feeling and looking like this, then maybe increase your exposure to Bitcoin and see if you don't feel better. Found this clip all the way back in 2014. I was blown away that one, the BBC even allowed this to be aired. But two, look how on the money we were all the way back in 2014.
The problem is basically that government wants to spend too much money. It's always been the same throughout history. Governments used to want to fund wars. Now, for all good, moral, decent humanitarian reasons, we want to fund health, welfare and education well beyond what the public will pay in taxes. After 15 years of studying these matters and now having made it to the Treasury Committee, I'm ever more convinced that there is no way to change the present monetary order until the ideas behind it have been tested to destruction. And I do mean tested to destruction, and it's an extremely serious issue. But it will not change until it becomes apparent that the ideas behind the system are not tenable. We should welcome the Chancellor's recent interest in cryptocurrencies and making London a real centre of financial innovation. Imperfect and possibly doomed as it may be, Bitcoin shows us that peer-to-peer, non-state money is practical and effective. I've used it to buy an accessory for a camera, a perfectly ordinary legal product. It was easier to use than a credit card, and it showed me the price in pounds or any other currency I like. It is becoming possible for people to move away from state money. So what I would like to see is every obstacle to the creation of alternative currencies within the ordinary commercial law removed. We should expand the range of commodities and instruments related to those commodities which are treated like money, like gold. So exempt VAT and capital gains tax, and it should be possible to pay tax in those new monies. And we must not fall into the trap that the United States has fallen into of obstructing innovation. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we are in the midst of an unprecedented global experiment in monetary policy and debt. It is likely, as Philip Coggan set out, that this will result in a new global monetary order. Whether it will be for good or ill, I do not know. But as technology and debt advance, I am sure we should be ready for a transformation. Society has suffered too much already under the present monetary orthodoxy. Free enterprise should now be allowed to change it.
Hear, hear. We got Moustache predicting that we might be about to start an enormous Wave 2 impulse. This is coming off a double bottom Wave 1 into a bull flag before Wave 2. Have we seen the same thing play out, but just over a much larger time scale? So we will soon see. Moustache thinks Wave 2 is still to come. I like this. The descending and broadening wedge, A, B, C, D, before a breakout and a target of peak B. So we've had that here, as you can see, A, B, C, D, E. We have now broken out, coming in for that retest. And this means the target is all the way up at 42k. Now, I think we're going to struggle to get past this region here, somewhere between 28 and 32. I think this is going to be real resistance. But if we can get a big push up to 42k, this would be a really good area to take profit, in my opinion, because especially if we go there relatively unscathed, then a big pullback will likely follow. Bitcoin has already bottomed and fair value is 40k, according to Anthony Saramucci. So it's not just the technicals pointing to 42k target, it's also the founder of Skybridge and ex-Goldman Sachs investment banker. The real yields have dropped 82 basis points in a few weeks. It's as if the Fed is easing policy already, when in fact it's not even done tightening. Maybe the Fed needs to walk back a bit from the dovish interpretations of its data-dependent comments to the press. Maybe. The bond market has never really bought this whole narrative that they were going to tighten and tame inflation, and the Fed communication in Jackson Hole this August could set up the dovish pivot in tone for the rest of the year. The markets have been rallying likely because of two reasons. One is inflation is about to peak, and two, that we are near the peak hawkishness from the Fed as a result. So if you're watching the channel, you know I've been calling for this pivot around September, and I think it's looking increasingly likely that this is being front run at the moment. So this could be setting us up for quite a damaging pullback, because if the markets continue to front run and price in a pivot and then we don't get a pivot, this could be pretty brutal. But there's a good chance, markets are always forward looking, remember, there's a good chance that this is being priced in ahead of time, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. So if we get this pivot, then you can absolutely expect to see a large risk on rally across the board into the end of the year. And that would also make sense when you consider that the November midterm elections are going to be occurring at the end of the year as well, and usually they do like to goose the markets ahead of that. In other news, Coinbase now offers Ethereum staking to institutions in the United States. So if you haven't seen my video on Ethereum from Monday, go back and watch that, because Ethereum is starting to concern me in certain places, but for now we remain long, as you know. The Bank of America says that Bitcoin has bullish momentum, and yeah, it does, but it's quite weak in my opinion. Speaking of banks, Morgan Stanley are bullish on El Salvador bonds. And speaking of El Salvador, the finance minister says Bitcoin has attracted tourism to our country. And this is absolutely true. Here are some people on holiday in El Salvador celebrating the Bitcoin Independence Day by sending Lightning transactions on top of a volcano in El Salvador. So if you don't know, El Salvador have volcano bonds. These are bonds you can buy where they mine Bitcoin using the thermo energy of a volcano. And I'm also showing this because it illustrates how well Lightning is working. Lightning just keeps on getting better and is continuing to be adopted. Speaking of Lightning, here you can see people paying for their order in a cafe in Texas via IBEX Pay. And you can see this is working as currency now. It takes no longer than a debit card or a credit card. It's instant, it's done, it's nearly free or free, and so it's working. I love to see it. We've got one piece of craziness before we move into the charts. It's crazy in my opinion. Let me know if you are a big fan of this sort of thing, but Tiffany have launched what they call NFTIFs. What is this, you might ask? Well, it's a way that you can buy one of these CryptoPunks as an NFT, a non-fungible token. Then you can send your NFT to Tiffany, and Tiffany will, in exchange, give you a physical gold and encrusted in gems pendant. So for the bargain price of 30 Ethereum, currently approximately $51,000, you can buy one of these and exchange it for a real life CryptoPunk pendant. I think Tiffany, as it stands, if they sell all of their 250 NFTs, will make $12.75 million from this deal. And I suspect they're hoping that over time these will appreciate. That, of course, remains to be seen. Let's take a look at the charts. Dollar into resistance, as you can see here. So is it going to break out? Is it going to put some pressure? Or are we just going to get rejected? Are we going to form a swing high at resistance and then come down to test 103? I don't know. We'll see. But as long as this can keep bleeding out, then that is good for everything else, isn't it? All risk assets, equities, gold, Bitcoin, so on and so forth. Jump to the top here. The S&P is putting in a little bit of a pullback at the moment, but don't worry about the pullbacks. Don't sweat the pullbacks, in my opinion. Nothing to worry about. Continue to be long and strong, and the same goes for the Nasdaq, as you can see. I haven't looked at the Dow in a while. I don't often trade the Dow, but it's more or less the same, isn't it? So that's fine. VIX is cooling off. I want to see the VIX lose this line of support. It's weird. A lot of people are still hedging, so perhaps we're going to continue to coil. But I would like to see this break down, really. Then we can get a true bull market. But perhaps it's going to take clarity from the Fed to see that. UKX is putting in a little bit of a pullback, but again, it's still pretty much on trend, isn't it? So nothing to be too concerned about. Continue to push. Looks like oil is working its way down to $85, and I think we can get a breakout down here. Then that is a big long and strong from me, so I'll continue to line that up. Gold, again, similarly, I'm not sweating pullbacks here. I did say that we would run into some level of, we had to be open to some level of drop into a half cycle low, and I think that potentially we maybe get 1 or 2 more green candles, and then we'll go and drop into that. So it would be expected around day 11 or something. Maybe day 12, 11. Yeah, so maybe we've had it early. Maybe it's coming over the next couple of days. But any sort of retest of this level, I'll be happy to add more to the position. So that's fine. I might play that as more silver, to be fair. I'm not really sure at the moment, but I'll let you know. I'll make sure I update on the channel. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed to turn the notifications on. What else we got? Silver miners continuing to push. This hasn't had the explosive move that I thought it might, but perhaps that's coming after this half cycle low. I think this is going to end up being a big long trade, and I think this is the same for gold as well. I think gold is going to push over multiple weeks here. So long and strong, continue to hold, continue to push. Bitcoin, hopefully we can see some tennis ball action out of here. There's nothing wrong with this if we can repeat this pattern and come up now. I want to see this level beaten, really. 25.5. I want to get back up into this range if we can. I want to do this fairly soon as well. I have this count as 21, so yeah, perhaps one more push, drop into that half cycle low, and then there should be another 2 weeks of rally. It should take us out to day 45, something like that. So we'll see how this goes, but again, long and strong. Ethereum, again, looking for that tennis ball action. Not a problem if we can get a good strong bounce off of here, but I don't want to see this sort of start chopping around and trading sideways. That would be a sign of weakness for me. Same is absolutely true of MATIC. If we can put in a bounce and go, big level, big psychological level at $1, I want to beat that. So we'll continue to push that. Lastly, the yields, look at this breakdown of this line here, and now that retest. So can we get rejected? If we can, I think that would be a really good sign. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how it goes. If you found value here today, I'd appreciate if you drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're not already. Make sure you're subscribed and turn the notifications on if you want to see me deal with these markets in real time, if you want to be notified for when I make changes to my positions or when I open new positions. If there's anything you want to see from me, additional charts or assets added, then throw that down in the comments. And in the meantime, all the best from me. Take care. Cheers. Bye.